everyone. Welcome to Switchblade Sisters Social Club, the true crime podcast where two friends exploit their worst fears for your entertainment.
You're welcome.
I'm Dee, a writer and podcaster.
And I'm Isla from Criminally Good Books, a true crime and crime fiction bookshop in York.
Follow us on all the socials.
Except for X, obviously.
Or have a look at our website, switchbladesisterssocialclub.com.
Check them out for all our latest episodes, events, deals, and other weird stuff.
Listeners' discretion advised. Hi!
Hello, you look adorable.
You look adorable. Well, so we are the top 22nd crime podcast in the UK.
How did that happen?
With a lot of hard work and reading.
On your behalf? On your part?
And number 77 crime podcast in the whole world with two female co-hosts, which sounds very specific, but there are a lot of podcasts with two female co-hosts, so we'll still take that as a massive win.
100% take that. Thank you very much.
Because we are in the company on both the lists with some amazing people. Crime Junkie, My Favorite Murder Most Irish Girls, who congratulated us on our socials. I was like, oh my God.
I love those girls so much. I could listen to them all day.
That was the equivalent of getting on that list in the first place, was them congratulating us. So
yeah, like I don't care about anything else. It's just that the girls said hi.
That was a lovely bit of news to start the year. And then also we've been talking about Birmingham Crime Con. We will be there, both the bookshop and the podcast. We will have stalls for both, so you can find us in one or both of those places at various times of the day. And we have a code for you. Our code is CGB10, abbreviated for Criminally Good Books. So CGB10. If you go to the CrimeCon UK website and go to buy a ticket, you can enter that code and you get 10% off the ticket.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see it. It's going to be so much fun because Manchester was great. Birmingham's going to be great. And then there's London later in the year.
Yeah. We should probably tell them what day it is.
What CrimeCon is?
I want to say 26th of April, but...
It's the 25th of April.
25th of April. Ignore what I first said. 25th of April. It's a Saturday, isn't it? Birmingham's super cool.
And it's in the studio in Birmingham. I don't know where that is. You probably know.
It's in the centre somewhere. No, not really. But we'll find it. We'll find our way to it. And yeah, we've also got Murder on Tap event in the Brewery Market coming up in March sometime. We haven't set a date, but keep an eye out. And Isla, you have a bunch of amazing events.
So many events. So we've got Will Dean in February. We've got LJ Ross in February. We've got Callie Kuzumi and Lucy Rose in February as well. So it's like kind of like horror thriller. And then it's our 2-year anniversary in March. So we've got lots of events. So we've got a young adult crime panel. We've got a horror crime panel. We've got Adele Parks in March. We've got Gay Maris in March. And then in April, we've got Evelyn Clark. So that's Kat Clark and V.E. Schwab have come together to write a book. And it's a thriller book that they've written together. And we're doing their Yorkshire launch in April. And then on top of that, the Crime Writers Association have chosen us to do their Noir at the Bar event. And that's in York on the 30th of May.
How is it your 2-year anniversary? That's amazing.
2 years since we decided, Dee, to do this.
2 years and 1 month since we decided to do it. It's your 2-year anniversary. Woohoo!
Since we sat in the Old Swan and came up with a name.
I know. Oh, I can't believe how much our lives have changed over the last couple of years. It's bonkers.
I know, it's insane. It's insane, but it's loads of fun. And I just think the crime writing community, both non-fiction and fiction, are just like some of the loveliest people. And it's just really, really nice, isn't it? It's really nice. Like
bizarrely.
The podcast stuff, the true crime writers, the fiction writers, the festivals. It's all really cool.
Lovely community, exactly. So if you haven't gone to like Harrogate Crime Writing Festival, or if true crime is more your bag, like you're listening to a true crime podcast, so that might be the case, then come to CrimeCon, even if you haven't been before. Such a welcoming, nice community. It's easy to meet people and talk to people there because you already have something in common, true crime, murder. You can talk to people about like serial killer facts and no one looks at you like you're a weirdo. So that's nice. And speaking of which, I'm going to tell you a tale of murder.
Tale of murder. It's funny because we haven't heard from you in a while, Dee, have we? It's usually me that presents every week.
I was trying to discuss with my partner what case to do this week. And I was like, yeah, because last week Operation Mincemeat didn't have any death. And he was like, wasn't it about World War II? I was like, yeah. Okay, so there was death, but there wasn't a murder in the traditional sense, was there?
Traditional murder. Yeah, exactly. It was like that was such an interesting one that he, is a war hero, but had passed away before he became a war hero.
Yeah, before he was ever involved in the war. So
yeah,
this one is a bit more of a sort of traditional true crime case, let's say. I don't want to read you the full title because I want to leave you a bit in suspense and it gives it away, but I'll tell you the subtitle is Greed, Betrayal, and Bondage. So I'm going to take you all the way to Australia. And we're going to be talking about Peter Shellard, who was a wealthy Australian businessman, known as much for his fortune as his bizarre and, I'm going to say it, annoying behavior.
Annoying behavior? Oh, I can't believe it.
He's a self-made multimillionaire in Melbourne. In 2005, the time period we're talking about, he was 56 years old. And Shellard had made his money dealing luxury cars and real estate agent vibes, right? He owned a 14-bedroom historic mansion named Rose Craddock in the upscale suburb of Coalfield North. So this was a heritage-listed 1857 estate that was like kind of his personal castle.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Massive house, right?
Wow, look at it. Beautiful hill. Looks really private. Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, but his antics annoyed the shit out of his neighbors. He once torched the mansion's historic gardens and even attacked firefighters' hoses with a chainsaw when they tried to put the flames out. He erected a massive wire fence around the property, parked shipping containers on the lawn to store his Rolls Royces, kept chickens on the ground, which is kind of cute, but chickens can be annoying. And if they're not looked after, they are incredibly smelly and so forth. And even dumped piles of manure by his neighbors' homes in fits of spite.
Can I just say one thing about that property, though? It's massive. And I think, you can put a fence around your house, like a wire fence to protect it. It's such a big property that he must have really had a lot of stuff to piss people off because it's so big, like massive piles of manure. Must have been loads of stuff to annoy people.
I feel like if you've got a detached house and you've got lots of land around it, you've got to be incredibly annoying to be able to reach the neighbors, right? So his ex-wife, Liz, had later said he was just outrageous. He loved breaking all the rules. So he's definitely not interested in keeping the peace. He was more like, well, it's my property. I'm allowed to do this, so I'm going to do it. And if he faced any resistance, he would do it more. He's technically not breaking any laws, of course, but it's just not how you make friends and good neighbors, is it? In truth, he suffered from bipolar disorder as well, which fueled extreme mood swings, frenetic energy, and like these stunts during his manic highs and lows, which would also be often followed by sort of bouts of depression. As some of you know, I've had a partner who had some personality disorder of such, and it is incredibly unpredictable and can spark a lot of erratic behavior, which is clearly what's happening here. But he had a sort of larger than life personality. And there were times where he was like the life and soul of the party. But he also had a lot of enemies and a lot of legal disputes over the years with people he'd worked with, lived near, all kinds. He was litigious. So he would often like start those legal battles and he was confrontational. So he just ended up being involved in just loads of disputes. In his will, he left each of his two ex-wives $1, which I presume is $1 Australian, which is kind of like a final insult from beyond the grave, isn't it? A massive fuck you that they have to come along because they are being named in the will.
Oh no, and they don't know how much they're going to get. Oh my God.
And I'm sure neither of them expect anything from him, but that's just like cruel, isn't it? He had a habit of alienating people, in particular his neighbors, his spouses, his business rivals. And then in the early 2000s, his wild lifestyle seemed to settle down a bit when he fell in love with Shirley Withers, who was a woman who was nearly 20 years younger than him.
So how old is he at this point? Sorry, Dee.
Well, in 2005, he was 56. So he's in his early 50s in the early 2000s. And so she must have been in her early 30s-ish.
Okay.
Initially, Shirley had a calming influence on Peter, and friends and family were relieved to see that the millionaire was happy, smitten, and calming the fuck down, right? The couple bonded over their shared interests. And you might ask, what were their shared interests? Was it hiking? Was it the cinema? No. They had both a newfound interest in bondage.
I was hoping you were going to say that.
Shirley encouraged it, and Peter embraced full on in the bedroom. He adored her, and he also demonstrated it financially. Shellard bought Shirley her own house and financed her dream of running a fashion boutique, giving her a job as his company's bookkeeper and seemingly limitless access to his money. So he might have been annoying and so forth, but he was definitely very generous with his money if he cared about you, and seemingly very trusting, right?
Yeah, so they both were into bondage. He bought her a house. He gave her a very good position within his company with access to all the money, and
bought her a shop, basically. And you run a shop. It's a fashion boutique shop, so not a bookshop, but you know how much hard work that is. And if you don't do it right, then you're in trouble financially, and your shop is not lasting very long at all.
Right, exactly.
So the night of the 6th of May, 2005, intruders crept into Rose Craddock Mansion while millionaire Peter Shellard slept. They came armed with rope, electrical cords, handcuffs, and even a pillow, items clearly chosen to restrain and control their victim. Peter Shellard woke up to people trying to fasten handcuffs on him. A pillow was pressed down over his face. Peter fought back. He was kicking, he was thrashing around, and he even managed to sink his teeth into one of the attacker's fingers, drawing blood. But that bite seemed to enrage his attackers. A blunt instrument cracked against his skull, leaving him bleeding and dazed. And then a syringe was produced. Its contents were forced into Peter's body, and within minutes, he just flopped over and the fight went out of him. Believing that their victim was merely sedated, the attackers draped ropes loosely over his wrists and ankles, scattered bondage paraphernalia around the room, and left him on the floor, half-dressed as if a night of adventurous sex had gone tragically wrong. Satisfied with the scene, they fled the mansion, intending to return once Shellard was compliant. Don't ask, it seems like stupid to me. So they were going to go and just chill for a bit, grab a burger and come back. But when they crept back later, they were met with absolute disaster. Peter Shellard had not woken up. He was dead.
Oh, God.
So the title of this episode is The Murder of Peter Shellard.
Okay, interesting.
The head trauma, combined with the massive dose of heroin that was in the syringe,
oh, for God's sake,
had killed him. So in the early hours of the 7th of May, emergency services received a frantic call from Peter Shellard's partner, Shirley. "My God, my partner's tied up on the floor and there's blood everywhere," she was screaming down the phone. Police and paramedics arrived, and they found exactly that Shellard's body was sprawled across the bedroom floor. His boxer shorts were still on. There were ropes loosely placed on his body and around his body, and there was blood splattered. At first glance, it did look like a bondage session had gone horribly wrong, but detectives grew suspicious really quickly. The ropes were only kind of draped over him and over his wrists. They weren't tied tightly, and there was no ligature marks, so he hadn't been tied up and fought against the bondage. He had defensive wounds and bruising on his arms, indicating that he had tried to fight off an attack, and a serious head wound from a blunt object. The head wound was severe, more consistent with an assault than an accident. And then They had taken a toxicology report and found morphine in his blood, heroin metabolites in his urine. Shellard, his friends and family insisted, never touch drugs. So he was very much a control freak in that sense and just was not one to dabble in that, you know?
I mean, he might have been batshit crazy, but he didn't take drugs.
And of course, you never know someone, but you can be pretty sure, you know? Peter wasn't a drug user. That's when we knew it was murder, said his friend Dale O'Sullivan later on. The case now looked like a carefully staged killing. But who had staged it and why? Given Peter Shellard's very long list of feuds, detectives initially faced a daunting amount of potential suspects.
Oh, God. I can imagine that call. We like speak to friends and family. Do you know anyone that would wish him any harm? Get the scroll out.
Like sometimes it's baffling because it's like no one would want them dead. It's very bizarre. And then other times it's like, well, have a seat. We've got a long list.
You got to speak to everyone in the town.
Yeah. The bizarre crime scene only widened the field since it wasn't immediately clear whether the murder was connected to Shellard's bondage lifestyle, his business dealings, or one of his many vendettas with his neighbours and other people. So as news of the eccentric millionaire's death spread, neighbours openly recalled their clashes with them, from the arson of the historic garden to constant legal fights. The list of suspects was an incredibly long one. There were also 2 ex-wives, 3 adult daughters, although investigators found nothing indicating that they were involved beyond inheriting his estate in a legitimate will. But, you know, could that have been motive? From the start, however, who do you think their suspicion revolved around?
Going to be the girlfriend, right?
Shirley Withers, the very person who had tearfully discovered the body. Those closest to Peter had an immediate gut feeling. In quotes, "We all thought Shirley did it," admitted his friend David Mickelson of their reaction to the murder.
Can I just ask, I just wonder if he expressed his interest in bondage outside of the relationship that he had with Shirley. I mean, I don't know about people that are interested in bondage and whatever. Like, do you have it all hanging up in your bedroom? Like, if he was legitimately attacked and they came in and there's loads of bondage stuff and you put it around, like it's clearly something that the attacker knows about, I would have thought.
How public was this knowledge, their interest in bondage? I don't know, because I'm sure he would have possibly said to a few friends. Obviously, the girlfriend knew. How many people has she been talking about it to? Who knows?
Exactly.
But behind this facade of domestic bliss, needless to say, there was trouble. There usually is.
Interesting.
Unbeknownst to Peter, Shirley Withers was leading a double life. She had developed a secret drug habit, buying heroin and amphetamines from other drug users and drug acquaintances, and her boutique was floundering. He was sinking hundreds of thousands of dollars into this boutique, and it was also in hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, which is what happens when you have a business financed by your boyfriend and no experience or motivation to keep it actually running as a business. It's a hobby your partner is paying for.
Mm-mm. I bet you, I can just imagine what this boutique is like. She's buying all this high-end, lovely stuff. She's probably wearing it herself. When she's selling it, she's probably just doing cash, not going through the till and stuff. And then she's not keeping on top of finances. And it's all just a bit of a joke, probably.
Exactly.
That's what I've got in my head.
Yeah. A high-end boutique to put her in touch with other high-end people, you know, the kind of women coming in or the type of women she aspires to be like, you know, so she gets to be in contact with them. But yeah, her failing business was basically used to fund her drug use. Shirley began embezzling money from her own business, but also from Shellard's accounts, because you remember she was his bookkeeper, which if I was anyone else in that business, I'd be like, I'm sorry, your girlfriend with no bookkeeping experience is our bookkeeper. Okay. I mean, he was basically giving her unlimited money.
Oh, I know what's happened. He's got confused with bondage bookkeeping.
Easy.
He maybe thought she could do, like, he got confused.
Excel, S&M. You can see.
It's an easy mistake.
Easy mistake to make. All right. Okay. Well, I mean, he was giving her unlimited money, so it's really confusing that she also then had to embezzle more money. Like, this woman must have been doing a lot of drugs or losing a lot of money through her business, because over the course of a year, nearly 1 million Australian dollars quietly vanished from Peter's funds, siphoned off by the woman he trusted most. And also, bear in mind, she's got no bills, because he bought her a house.
Bought for her.
Yeah. By April 2005, Peter discovered that large sums were missing and started growing suspicious that Shirley was stealing from him. So he did sort of click that something was not right. And according to his friends, Shellard confided that he feared his girlfriend was betraying him, and his ex-wife Liz even received an anxious call from him in which Peter said that he was scared, and in quotation marks, feared for his life.
Really?
Which is bizarre, because to be fearful of your life from your partner is a big statement, right?
I mean, he did say that he might have been really anxious and paranoid anyway. So
yes.
It's not something that would have happened
with other people. Yeah. And that is exactly the problem, is that he was known to be paranoid. He was known to be eccentric. So everything he said was taken with a pinch of salt, unfortunately. And it is difficult when you've got someone like that to know what is a legitimate concern and what is the personality disorder, unfortunately. So Liz, his ex-wife, was completely unaware of any actual wrongdoing by Shirley. And so he reassured him that Shirley wouldn't do him any harm. From the outside, she was the one that had calmed him down, was stable. I don't know whether people knew about their financial setup, that Peter had bought her a house and paying for her business. I'm sure that would have raised a few eyebrows and maybe made them cast a bit more of doubt. Who knows? So Shirley was sensing that Peter was getting a bit suspicious of her. And so she was getting really worried that she would lose everything, because she would. She would lose her home. She would lose her business, in quotation marks.
Her lifestyle. Her
partner. She knew that Peter was onto him, and they were starting to fight about this kind of stuff a lot. The money that the business was losing, some of his missing money, this, that, and the other. She would have also been erratic if she was a drug user, I presume.
So it depends. She was setting heroin and amphetamines. Is that what you said? I can't
exactly. Heroin and amphetamines. So
I don't know. I've never tried, and so I don't know.
They're not drugs known for stability or calmness, are they? She's not smoking a spliff here and there, is she? So police, after the murder, soon found out about the missing funds. Shirley also had no chill after the murder, because she started asking questions immediately about Peter's will.
Oh, God.
Which is not a good look, is it? And if you're genuinely upset and surprised by someone's death, it's not going to be possibly your first concern. The official will on file left Peter's substantial estate entirely to his daughters. Remember, he had 3 children from his previous marriages. Shirley claimed that there was a newer will, and it left everything to her. A document that she said she herself had typed up and witnessed. I don't know about the legality of that. Maybe it's possible. I mean...
No, I don't think so. No.
The typing, sure, but the witnessing, I don't think that it... If anything, it's questionable if you're witnessing a will that you benefit from a lot. It's not ideal.
No. I mean, that would be contested immediately.
So. Exactly. And the fact that there was no solicitor involved, even though this guy is extremely litigious, it seems unlikely that he would produce such an important document.
And the thing is, even if he was estranged from his daughters, which, I don't know if he was, he's obviously chosen for them to benefit. And then he's now got this new... Why would you just suddenly give everything to her?
Yeah. It just doesn't make sense. Unlikely without some catastrophic relationship problem that you would have with the daughters since. And I don't know if he was estranged or not. I assume that there was a contentious relationship, because he seems to have that with everyone and with their mums or mum. I don't know if they came from one of the ex-wives or none of the ex-wives or whatever. But I didn't find anything about some massive issue with him that would lead to him writing all 3 of them out of the will and leaving everything to his girlfriend who's not their mum, so they wouldn't receive it eventually, unless Shirley. Yeah. So in a bold move, Shirley even asked to enter the sealed crime scene, his house, to search for this new will in the house safe. Investigators were really alarmed by her eagerness to access Shellard's safe and by the convenient story that she was suddenly the sole heir. No such will naming her as the sole dependent was ever found, and her claim only deepened police suspicion that Shirley Withers had a personal financial motive for murder. I mean, she definitely had a motive. She would definitely benefit.
But why would she want to go into the safe if she wasn't going to plant something? Maybe she just thought that he would have left it to her. She's being naive.
Or she's just trying to claim that there was this document in existence, even though there wasn't. I don't know. So detectives quietly dig into Shirley's recent activities, and they soon confirmed that Peter Shellard's fears about his missing money were correct. Over $900,000 Australian had been embezzled from his accounts into channels benefiting Shirley in the year before the murder. It's like, how are you even spending that much and no one noticed? If I spend $1 million, Australian or otherwise, there would be signs.
Yeah, you'd be dripping with diamonds and everything. They'd be like, tiara.
I mean, I don't have a drug addiction, but I do like wine. But they'd be like, why is Dee drunk all the time? She's clearly spending $1 million on wine. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
how much is $1 million Australian dollars in pounds? I mean, it's over £500,000, right?
Right?
£500,000.
I just feel like spending that much money, in addition to any other money she was getting from him or whatever, I just feel like those closest to you would notice.
The other thing is what she could do, and I don't know if you're going to say if she did this or not, but if you're really struggling financially, she could remortgage the house, like the house that he bought her.
Well,
do something like that. Oh, right. Okay, right.
Okay.
I'm in the room.
Yeah. So he had bought her a house, but it was in his name. So she couldn't have remortgaged or anything. It was in his name, but she was living in it rent-free, you know? Peter Shellard had apparently confronted Shirley about the suspected theft just 1 week before he was killed. So he'd noticed a huge chunk of money and he was asking Shirley about it because she was the bookkeeper. So if it wasn't her, how the hell did she not notice it? If Peter was about to cut off or expose Shirley, she had millions of reasons to want him gone. Literally millions. Still, police needed hard evidence tying her to the crime. So that's when 2 forensic clues from the crime scene provided a break. Investigators recovered a discarded cigarette butt from Peter Shellard's mansion, even though neither Peter nor Shirley smoked. I, as a former smoker, get the need to have a cigarette when you're about to do something stressful.
Big, yeah.
But I'm always shocked when people leave the cigarette butts, especially in 2005, when you have DNA and people know about it. So I find it just bizarre. But they found the cigarette butt. More importantly, they lifted a bloody fingerprint from Peter's house phone, likely left by the killer or killers when they tried to use or move the phone with bloody hands. So the lab matched the DNA and the fingerprint, and the results were kind of startling. They belonged to 2 known local drug addicts, Stan Kalinikos and Sofia Stupas. They were petty criminals, but they were completely outside Peter Shellard's circle. He had no known dealings with these low-level heroin users and criminals, and the presence of their DNA in his mansion was surprising and noteworthy. Evidence pointed to potentially someone hiring them to commit the murder, which in turn pointed back to the possibility of Shirley. For detectives, she was their main focus at this point. Victoria Police secretly placed a wiretap on her phone, listening for anything that could implicate her. And before long, Shirley obliged. In a recorded phone call to one of Peter's close friends, Dale O'Sullivan, who we quoted earlier, Shirley let slip a shocking claim. She said she knew who killed Peter, but she hadn't told the police. Which, like, why? Why wouldn't you? So you know the person who killed your most loved person and you're not telling the police? Withers described the culprits as greedy, dirty little druggies and ranted, in quotes, "I'll fucking kill them with my hands and I'll make those bastards suffer." Or you could just tell the police and let them serve justice, you know? So this was the break that investigators needed. Shirley had essentially admitted 2 key things on the tape. One, that she was aware that 2 drug users were behind the murder, which was not something they had shared with her.
Yeah, because she's like called them druggies, yeah.
Yeah. And 2, she harbored violent intent to harm them, suggesting that she had a personal stake in silencing them, and also that they are potentially in danger. The phone tap evidence gave police both a link and leverage. They now knew Withers was desperate and might take further action. So to catch Shirley in the act of covering up her crime, the police orchestrated a daring undercover sting operation, which we love. We love a good sting operation, don't we?
We love a good sting.
Mm-hmm.
Love a good sting.
An officer went undercover, approaching Shirley, pretending to be a hitman connected to the drug world. I mean, I don't know how this happens. Word on the street was that... Do you know what I mean?
Dee, you have to do an impression of that undercover officer.
Like, hey, mind if I buy you a drink and tell you about my career as a very successful hitman? Oh, what, you need one? What a coincidence.
Because do you know what it is that you're meant to say? You're meant to say, I heard you paint houses.
Is it?
Yeah. So like we've got a book in the shop and it's called I Heard You Paint Houses. So you're in the pub and you know that there's someone there that might be a hitman or whatever, or like bump someone off. So you just go up to him and go, oh, I heard you paint houses. Obviously not just the way that I said it casually, but you say, I heard you paint houses, and that means that you will do someone in.
Interesting. All right. Well, on that note, let's take a little break.
Love a good murder? Come visit me, Isla, at Crimley Good Books in York, your one-stop shop for crime fiction and true crime reads, as well as gifts and author events. Or browse online at crimleygoodbooks.co.uk.
So, we learned before the little break that you have to approach people and ask if they... Well, you say it.
So you have to approach people and say, I heard you paint houses. And that is a kind of undercover way of saying, I hear you can do a job for me. You can get rid of someone.
So basically, this guy, the undercover hitman, he said that he heard that she had a problem that needed fixing. And Shirley took the bait. And I don't know why. Like, you know that there's people looking at you. I don't know, maybe...
Well, she's a heroin addict.
Her judgment is impaired and she's mixing with people that are clearly up for hire to do devastatingly horrible things. So maybe it's not that weird. It's not like us in our lives where we don't interact with people like that and someone coming up and saying, do you want me to kill someone? We'd be like, what the fuck, dude? Whereas she's just like, oh yeah, actually. So she had a meeting with him and this fake hitman offered to take care, in quotation marks, of the 2 druggy accomplices that she had been heard cursing out. He asked, do you want them roughed up, taught a lesson? What? And she says she wanted them dead.
Right. Can I ask where this undercover hitman was meant to have heard her? Is she just going around bad-mouthing these 2 guys? And I've got questions, but I don't want to ask those questions because I think you're going to give answers. But I have so many questions. This woman is just stupid.
Well, I don't know whether she thinks the 2 people are talking. Because, I mean, you know what drug users are? They're not reliable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're not necessarily going to be the most professional in their... Supposedly didn't even mean to kill him, supposedly. So like, yeah.
I have a question. I am actually going to ask my question if that's okay.
Yeah.
So my question, and you don't have to answer it because I don't know if you want to answer it at the moment. But my question is, I am confused as to whether she was involved in the killing because she asked these 2 druggies to do it, or if she's complained so much about this guy, the partner, and how wealthy he is and how she's in financial difficulty, and these 2 druggies have gone, oh, you know what, we'll get rid of him for her. So
okay. How involved is she?
How involved? So that's where I am. And then she's obviously been overheard saying, oh, these little druggies, I'm going to teach them a lesson. So I'm just like, what is truth? What is reality? What is going on?
I will explain how it came about. Okay. So obviously, Shirley at this point is unaware that she's speaking to an undercover officer wearing a wire. So she proceeds to negotiate the murder of Kalinikos and Stupas, the 2 drug users who she had used to kill Peter Shellard. So once these supposed contract killings were arranged, in quotation marks, the undercover agent delivered the fabricated news to Shirley that the job was done. So he comes back and he says, yep, I killed the two people. Believing that her accomplices were now eliminated, Shirley Withers relaxed and spilled the full truth to the hitman. In this recorded conversation, she admitted that she had been present the night Peter died and confirmed her role in the crime. It was the final piece of the puzzle that the police needed to move in. So in July 2005, only weeks after the murder, Shirley Withers was arrested, caught by her own incriminating words. Soon after, police also rounded up Stanley Kalinikos and Sofia Stupas, the hired addicts who were very much alive and were now ready to save themselves by telling the truth. And faced with the overwhelming evidence, taped conversations, forensics, fingerprints, and the realization that the hitman she hired was actually a cop, Shirley's facade and her whole world finally crumbled. Meanwhile, her accomplices rolled over immediately, according to investigators. In exchange for leniency, they both gave full statements detailing the murder plot and Shirley's central role in planning it. So it's not like they were mates of hers. They felt sorry for her or thought they could financially benefit from helping her in this way and went off on their own accord and planned this or did this act. She was central to planning it. They confirmed that Shirley had recruited them with tales of abuse and promises of reward, instructing them on staging the scene to look like a bondage accident, and that she herself had administered the fatal heroin injection to Shellard. So it's possible that they didn't even think that they were involved in a murder for hire plot. So what initially looked like a baffling erotic mishap was now clearly revealed as an orchestrated murder for profit scheme. The motive was twofold. Shirley Withers sought to keep the nearly $1 million she'd stolen in secret, and also to secure his multi-million-dollar estate, but also to prevent Peter from selling the house that she lived in, which he had been considering since he uncovered the fact that she was lying to him about money. Greed had driven her to enlist outsiders to do her dirty work and then to contemplate killing them in order to cover her tracks. Shirley was charged with first-degree murder for the death of Peter Shellard, along with 2 counts of incitement to murder for soliciting the hit on her accomplices. So she got done for hiring these people to help her murder her boyfriend, and then also for trying to get them killed as well.
Is there not some kind of like, it's like if it's, like a woman, it's like honey trapping, is, what is it called if, you're undercover trying to get her to commit a crime?
Entrapment?
Yeah, some kind of leniency there, but then, I don't know, but they're clearly...
I know in some countries, in some states, entrapment, i.e. kind of creating a scenario for these people to commit crimes, is not legal, or it's not something that you can go to court over. And in other countries, it's fine. I'm guessing because this kind of was entrapment in that they created a scenario for her to commit this crime of soliciting a hitman. I'm guessing it's fine in Australia. You could argue that unless you're inclined to hire a hitman, you're not going to hire a hitman. Or you can argue that you also need that perfect storm of events for that to happen. I don't know. In mid-2007, so 2 years after the murder, her case finally went to trial in the Supreme Court of Victoria.
God, okay.
Throughout the proceedings, Withers maintained a plea of not guilty to the murder, even though her 2 co-conspirators testified against her. It's like, come on. Notably, Shirley did plead guilty to the incitement charges of trying to have Kalinikos and Stupas killed, since those were kind of, she couldn't argue against them. But like, why would you try to have them killed if the first crime didn't happen? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So they said that she administered the lethal dose, right? And what about the head injury? Remind me, what did they say about the head injury?
I think the head injury was one of the others,
okay.
One of the 2 accomplices.
And it was the combination of that and the heroin.
Okay.
Right.
She said she didn't hire them to kill her boyfriend, and she definitely didn't kill her boyfriend, but she wanted them killed afterwards, supposedly because they killed her boyfriend. So she was so angry they killed her boyfriend, she wanted to kill them, was her argument. The trial laid bare the salacious details of the crime. Jurors heard how Peter was tied up, bashed, and injected with heroin in a supposed revenge attack engineered by his own partner. They learned how Shirley had lied to the addicts that Peter forced her into degrading bondage acts and withheld her money, manipulating them into attacking him. So, like,
playing the victim.
Yeah. And no doubt promised them drug money, basically. The prosecution argued that Shirley's true motive was financial gain and self-preservation, painting her as a calculating woman who decided to get rid of Peter so she could raid his company's funds and claim his $15 million fortune without interference. In June 2007, the jury delivered its verdict. Want to guess what?
Guilty.
Guilty of murder, and obviously of the two other incitement charges, which she had pled guilty to. Her accomplices, who had pleaded guilty to manslaughter earlier in the year, were each sentenced to 6 years in prison for their lesser roles. And in October 2007, Justice David Hopper of the Victorian Supreme Court sentenced Withers. I think judges summing up before the sentencing is one of my favorite things, as morbid as they sound, because sometimes they go in, right?
They give like detailed stuff and like a recap and stuff that you might not know about.
Yeah, and they obviously just let their full feelings be known. He described the horrific circumstances of Peter Shellard's death. In quotes, "The horror he must have experienced is impossible for the rest of us to fully comprehend." He recounted how Withers initially only claimed she intended to force Peter to sign documents transferring a property to her. So that was now her claim. But how the attack went much further into outright brutality. Furthermore, after the killing, Shirley had tried to engineer even more murder by arranging the death of her partners in crime. And what did Shirley get? For the combined offenses, Shirley Withers received a prison term of 26 years with a minimum of 18 years to serve before the option and the possibility of parole. This effectively means she'd be behind bars well into the 2020s. However, the legal twists are not over yet.
Oh my God.
Shirley Withers was not willing to spend the next 2 decades in prison, and her defense team filed an appeal for the murder conviction. In 2010, the case went to the Victorian Court of Appeal, where Shirley's lawyers pushed a controversial argument. They claimed she never intended to actually kill Peter Shellard. Her plan was only to blackmail and extort him, and his death was an unintended result. It's like, oh, so much better. But she's trying to basically say it was manslaughter, like the other two got, rather than murder. So she's basically finally admitting her involvement in the plot, but arguing that the murder was not the intention. In June 2010, in a move that stunned Peter's loved ones, the appellate court agreed to overturn the murder conviction. The judges ruled that the evidence supported a finding that Shirley intended just to frighten and rob Shellard through the forced signing of documents, not necessarily to kill him. So the murder verdict was quashed with manslaughter, acknowledging that while she caused his death, it wasn't premeditated murder in the court's view, because remember, murder has to be premeditated. As a result, Shirley's sentence was significantly reduced. So do you want to guess her new sentence?
Well, can I just ask, so premeditated, she turned up with these two other druggies with heroin to inject him with a lethal
bunch of other weapons and ropes and all sorts, yep.
So I suppose I can see why you would say that, you know, you have to be sure that it's premeditated, but all the evidence is there for it to be premeditated. But in the same token, I can see why she could argue that she was only going to tie him up and force him to sign stuff. So, like, how do you even decide? I suppose that's where, you know, there's doubt there. But
it already been decided. It already been decided because it already gone to court and she was already charged, you know, and convicted.
She claimed that she'd no part in the murder, but then she's since gone, actually, do you know what? I don't want to spend all that time. I will own up to the fact that I was there. I will own up to the fact that I wanted to cause him harm, but I didn't want to cause murder. She's obviously just like spoken to her lawyers, but why they didn't suggest to do that in the first place, I don't know.
Well, I think because this approach would definitely lead to jail time. where she was trying to avoid any jail time. But then once she got convicted of murder, she might as well try to go for a lesser sentence because she's going to get jail time anyway. So now it's about reducing it.
So in 2007, she was convicted of 26 years, right?
With a minimum of 18 years to be served before she can apply for a parole.
So then 2010, it says 2010 now.
Yep.
Well, she probably got 5 years, so she'd be out in 2012 or something.
It was reduced to 9 to 13 years for manslaughter, including time already served, which was at this point about 3 years. So 2 incitement to murder counts for the attempted hits on her accomplices remained on her records, but were likely factored into the overall sentence. With this decision, Shirley Withers suddenly went from having a distant parole eligibility in 18 years to a much shorter sentencing. In fact, the Court of Appeals ruling made her eligible for parole in just 9 years, counting from 2010. The reduction of Shirley Withers' conviction to manslaughter and her lighter sentence caused a stir, as you can imagine. Many who followed the case were dismayed that a person who had so clearly orchestrated a deadly plot could escape a murder conviction on the argument of lack of intent. But the legal system had spoken. Having been incarcerated since 2005, Shirley became eligible for release in 2019. And in fact, she gained early parole a couple of years before that, regaining her freedom sometime around 2017, probably for good behavior, which you know is a concept I find bizarre. In total, she served roughly a decade behind bars for killing her partner.
So is she out now?
Yeah, she left in 2017. By the late 2010s, the woman who had plotted to kill Peter for money was out of prison, having paid a far lighter price than the life sentence many felt that she deserved. Her accomplices, too, served relatively brief terms with 6-year sentences. Kalinikos and Stupos were released from prison long before Shirley was. Hopefully, they got some kind of help for their addiction issues, which was, in my view, a very easy way to manipulate someone if they have an addiction.
She knew the buttons to push.
Dangling that substance that they are addicted to in front of them, right? It's unknown if Shirley Withers ever expressed remorse publicly. I couldn't find any examples of it, so I'm guessing no. And after her release, she largely disappeared from view, perhaps hoping to live her life out in anonymity after the infamy of the case. Peter Shellard lost his life in a cruel betrayal by the person he trusted the most, and he clearly did. And it's just a story of extreme greed, manipulation, and the deadly consequences of betrayal, and one that serves as a stark reminder that sometimes our worst enemies are the ones we welcome into our home.
Oh my God, Dave.
Right?
It's scary. How did Peter make his money?
Luxury cars and real estate.
Luxury cars, yeah. And I think it's probably, we talked about he had a list of enemies, or there was like lots of people that would potentially wish him harm. It was probably very, very quick for the police to kind of zoom in on her.
They arrested her within weeks, so...
Yeah, but I wonder, those other people that he had dealings with, they probably thought, good riddance,
But they probably shat themselves a bit, because they're probably like, fuck, I've got a legal case against him. What if they think I am responsible?
Probably like happy that he's gone, but also, exactly. I've got a legal case against him. They're going to come for me. Mm-hmm. They're going to, interview me.
I hope no one's so cruel that they're like, I know this neighbour was a nightmare, but I'm really glad he got brutally murdered. I hope no one was like that.
I'm really glad that he's no longer their neighbour.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the brutal murder thing. I think that the ones that don't surprise me the most, the killings that don't surprise me the most, are the ones linked to greed.
Yeah. And the partners. It's so sad, but it's not as shocking anymore, sadly.
Yeah.
So my sources were a bunch of articles in ABC News, Brisbane Times, and New Zealand Herald, 9 Honey, 9 News, Deadly Women TV series, an amazing podcast by Case File. All of the sources are in the show notes. But do you want a palate cleanser?
Yeah, I want a quiz.
So I'm loving our quizzes. Are you?
Mm. Well, I am, because I've not created any for a little while. But next week, I am back on D, and I'm going to do an amazing quiz.
Oh, I know. Right. So this quiz, I've tried to, as you know, the plan is to pick a sort of a lighthearted element of the case to focus the quiz on. So I don't know if
It's not going to be a bit heroin, is it?
No, and I don't know if this is lighthearted, because honestly, this is like one of my phobias, having had it in the past. Real life neighbours from hell.
Ooh.
So we used to have a neighbour we had like a little alleyway behind our house, that you would access from the garden to put the bins out in the street and
put
stuff.
Like the rubbish down and stuff, and you would go out. Yeah.
So it was actually the house on the other side of that. So it was kind of on the road perpendicular to ours. But he used to like yell abuse at us. He was racist. He would, against us being Arab, he used to throw stuff at us. He was awful. So nightmare neighbours. And I'm in the process of moving. It scares the shit out of me.
When was this, by the way, just out of interest? When was
in Chiswick, which for those of you who don't know, Chiswick is a lovely area, but dickheads be everywhere, huh? So here are some questions about real life nightmare neighbours.
Okay.
So, the Hatfield-McCoy feud, you've heard of it?
No.
Okay, so this was in the West, in the Westerns, where the Westerns are in in the American West, where cowboys are.
I thought you meant the West of Scotland.
I know. I was trying to think, where are Westerns set? But, Western land. The Hatfields and the McCoys were two families that had a long feud, and it's where the term bury the hatchet comes from, but I don't remember in what context. So the infamous Hatfield and McCoy feud began over what? A stolen pig. B, a fence dispute. C, a poker game. Or D, a land survey. Stolen pig, fence dispute, poker game, or land survey.
Pig.
Correct. It was.
Oh my God.
Stolen pig. Question 2. Which U.S. spite house was deliberately built skinny and ugly to block a neighbor's view? Before I give you the options, let me just say that I Googled spite houses, and they are a thing, and I love them, even though I hate nightmare neighbor.
Spite house. Okay.
So it's when people build houses quite clearly in a way to spite their neighbors.
Oh, like if they, right. Okay,
so you can Google it. The most common example is people painting their houses in colors that either purposely to piss off their neighbors or just a color they love and fuck their neighbors.
Or like to block out light or add a big explosion.
But these spite houses, and I'll show you pictures, are amazing. So this is a question about which U.S. spite house was deliberately built skinny and ugly to block a neighbor's view. Was it in A, New York, B, Boston, C, San Francisco, or D, Chicago?
Do I get to see a picture before I decide? No.
No, but I will show you a picture after you decide.
There's just a famous one that's been built to block someone's view. Can you say the places again? Chicago, New York,
Boston, San Francisco, Chicago.
I'm going to say San Francisco.
Correct. Now let me show it to you.
I only say that because I know that they're quite tall and thin buildings anyway, and they're on slopes usually.
Mm-hmm. Let me show you this.
Wow. Okay.
So this is an article in The Guardian about spite buildings. So look, they clearly have the right to build this building, but as you can see, I don't know how they've managed to get permission, though, with planning permission and whatever, blocking all of the windows of their neighbor's house, clearly just shoving it in it's just bonkers, isn't it? It's the Alameda Spite House.
There's one big house on the right-hand side, and it looks beautiful. And then on the left-hand side, there's a little thin house that's gone down the side. And clearly, you've probably got like a meter, maybe, between the houses. But there's loads of windows that are all just blocked by this new house. It goes over 2 stories. And it looks lovely as well. It's just...
Someone's clearly had like 3 meters wide plot of land on the corner of this street and just shoved a house in it, regardless of the fact they're blocking. So then it shows you some other spite buildings, which is basically just seems like ridiculous buildings on small areas of land. Here's where was this one? Buenos Aires, tiny. I don't really get this one. Oh, look at this. Look at this narrow one. This one's called The Grudge. It's literally, I don't even know if you can fit a person in there. It's bizarre. This is the Montlake Pie House in Seattle, another tiny one. I'll put the link of this article, obviously. Here's a paint job. More than anything, it's like painted like a circus tent, red and white stripes. Yeah, so lots of tiny little houses in inconvenient places. But at the end of the day, if that's where you can build, it's difficult, isn't it?
I think also, like, in terms of spite houses, I think building restrictions probably change depending where you are in the world, obviously. Like in York here, to get planning permission to do anything, you've got to go through it like a lot of loops and stuff. But, and in the UK, there's like things against like neighbours light and all that kind of stuff. But I can just imagine it around the world, there'll be a lot of spite houses. I didn't even know they were called that. That's so cool.
I know,
it's my new favorite so far.
It's my new favorite thing. I also imagine a lot of planning restrictions get put into place after a spite house is built. And they're like, we couldn't do anything about that one, but maybe we should put in a law so this doesn't happen again.
We had this thing, I don't know if it was just in York, I think it was across the UK, and I don't know the year, but when we moved into this house is like 1800s, and the windows used to all be like really lovely Georgian windows, and they're still Georgian in the front. But what happened was there was a lapse in the kind of the rules, and all the side windows got replaced with like UPVC windows. And they're not great on like a house of this age, but it obviously keeps the house warm. But then they've now then reverted back, so you can't take out the old windows, which we wouldn't do anyway. But it's just like really bad, like planning permission changes and stuff. But I can just imagine there'll be people like trying to find any loophole to build whatever they want.
Yeah, exactly. Right, next question. You're doing so good. Question 3. Which composer allegedly fired a gun at noisy neighbors? A, Beethoven, B, Mozart, C, Tchaikovsky, or D, Wagner?
Is it Richard Wagner? He's not.
Robert Wagner?
Oh no, it's Robert, I was thinking.
Yeah.
Murderer.
Allegedly, in quotation marks for those that are listening to the audio.
Allegedly. I'm going to say Tchaikovsky.
It's A, Beethoven.
Oh, okay.
I know. I initially thought Wagner because of his ties with the Nazi. He was like officially the composer of the Nazi party or whatever. So I thought, well,
really? Okay.
Yeah. I think mainly because he was in Germany at the time. So everything was of the Nazi party if it was allowed to continue. All right, question 4. Still doing really good. Which country reports the highest number of neighbour disputes per year? Is it Australia, B, the UK, C, the United States, or D, Germany?
Can I go through my answers? So the first one was
Australia.
So I don't think it's Australia because of the sheer size of Australia and the number of people and probably bigger yards and gardens and space between them. And then the next one was what?
UK.
Definitely a contender. What's the next one?
United States.
Definitely a contender. What's the next one?
Germany.
I don't think it's Germany because I think there's lots of rentals in Germany over purchasing. So there'll be a lot more.
You can still have rentals. You can have rental tenants arguing.
I'm just going to go UK.
Correct.
Yes.
Which is terrifying considering how much smaller it is than all of those other countries. I think it's probably got fairly similar population size to Germany and even Australia. But like, I think you're right that the amount of space probably has something to do with it. You know, like the more bunched up you are, the more likely you are to argue. Hard to have an argument with a neighbor who lives like a mile away, you know, and you're...
Well, exactly, yeah. Which is why in the case that you did, and the neighbours disputing things like the manure in the driveway, his luxury cars and shipping containers, like obviously if you did that anywhere near where we are, it would be obvious. But it's such a massive house. Yeah, that's really... Yeah. Not surprising, but it is kind of scary, isn't it? Like if you're moving house, you have to really think about, the neighbours.
I know.
Remember when we bought this house and like other houses and stuff, and you say, what are the neighbours like? And they're like, oh yeah, they're all great. And our neighbours are, lovely. But you have to think about what are the neighbours like and what's the answer that you want to hear from the vendor, like the person that you're buying from, or the estate agents. Like what are the things you should be mindful of, because I had a friend that was like selling a house and she happened to have like a Ring doorbell camera on top of her garage. It picked up the estate agent next door talking to potential buyers about next door's house. And they said, oh, who owns this bit of like side land? Like, who owns that? And they said, oh, it's yours. Like, comes with the property, blah, 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 blah. And she was listening. So she basically got up, went round and said, excuse me, I've just heard you saying that this bit of land belongs. It doesn't. You know full well that it belongs to us. It does not belong to this house. If you want to talk to us, you absolutely can. And she invited the vendors round and said, like, or not the vendors, the people that were interested in buying. And she said, if you want to come round and chat to us, but just please do know that if you put an offer in on this house, it does not include this bit of land that faces your property. It is very clearly ours and we have it in writing. But please, so don't believe vendors when you're buying stuff,
Could have done a whole quiz on estate agents behaving badly. Maybe that'll be another bonus quiz.
Fun one.
Final question. So you've got three out of 4 so far. You're doing really good. Which celebrity installed floodlights so bright that neighbors complained of permanent daylight, in quotation marks? Was it A, Kanye West, B, Prince, C, Elton John, or D, Ozzy Osbourne?
I don't think it's Prince or Elton John. I think it's either Kanye West or what was the last
Ozzy
one?
Osbourne.
Ozzy Osbourne. I know that Ozzy Osbourne, I'm pretty sure I remember there being disputes with neighbours, so I'm going to go with Ozzy Osbourne.
Kanye West.
Oh,
I thought that one was obvious because he's just such a massive twat that allegedly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So 3 out of 5. Well done. That's still good. I'm proud of you.
It's not bad. Almost 4 out of 5.
Yeah. I don't know how you work that out, but sure.
Because I almost chose Kanye.
You almost chose Kanye. Did I hear right that you are presenting a case next week?
Yes, because I absolutely need to. And Dee, and everyone knows that I just take so long over my cases and I have too many on the go that I'm researching and I just need to get it done. Plus, I've also been doing lots of different work.
Yes, you have been very busy and I'm proud of you and I'm always happy to present to you. But I also cannot wait to hear what story has gripped you enough to research it for our dear podcast. All right. Well, I am on that note going to say goodbye and to you, but also to our sexy listeners. Thanks for sticking it out. We are in season 6. How cool is that?
I cannot wait to see people at CrimeCon. I'm so excited about CrimeCon.
Me too.
And please, people, continue to come into the shop and say hi if you listen to us. And I will continue to give you stickers.
We say this all the time, but honestly, it makes our day when someone comes up and it's like, we listen to your podcast. It's like, oh my God, someone listens.
So one of the teachers at my daughter's school said, so funny, because she said, oh, I listened to the podcast the other day. And I was like, yeah. And she went, yeah. And I was like, and? She's like, yeah. And I was like,
praise me.
And I was like, what was the case? And she's like, can't remember. And I was like, okay then. But she took the time out to tell me that she listened to it.
Bless. So, yeah,
I did like it.
There is the danger that if you tell us you listen to our podcast, we'll be like, oh my God, what was your favorite episode? What moment did you love best from it? It's only because we're not testing you. We just operate on praise like Tinkerbell, like I've said so many times. And if we don't get that attention, we wither and die.
Fair. We're in a school and she can't go, it was the one where so-and-so died, or it was that, and there were children in reception. So she probably couldn't say much.
Yeah, she probably binged the whole everything and loved all of it. Yeah. Let's just assume.
1 to 6. She's done it all.
Goodbye to you and that teacher and our sexy listeners, and see you next week. Bye.
Like this episode? Want more? Come visit me, Isla, at Crimley Good Books in the heart of York. We're an independent bookshop dedicated entirely to crime. From cosy mysteries to gritty thrillers, historical whodunits to juicy true crime. We've got signed editions, special gifts and plenty of recommendations for your next obsession. We also host a bunch of awesome author events. Can't make it in person? Visit us online at crimleygoodbooks.co.uk.